Welcome back to part 2 of Module 9, Lesson 1, where we continue our study of circumference. We're on example 2 now, where they're going to give us a radius of 21.2 inches, and they want us to use 3.14 for pi to find our circumference to the nearest hundredths. Now, because they give us a radius, we're going to need to use the radius formula. And you can see they've shown you the radius formula there, which is 2 times pi times radius. Of course, it's a good idea to make an estimate before you do that. So they estimated pi to be 3, and they estimated the radius to be 20. So 2 times 3 times 20 says that the answer you should get should be around 120. Not necessarily exactly that, but it should be close to it. Now, in here, we're going to take and plug in what we know. If it was me doing it, I would completely do it differently. In fact, I'm going to just go ahead and show you what I'm going to do, because there's no reason at all to work it the way they're showing it. So let me take and bring up my other sheet here, and we're going to take and start off by writing a formula down. The formula, of course, is going to be circumference is equal to 2 times pi times the radius. Circumference is equal to 2 times 3.14 times, and the radius they gave us was 21.2. 21.2. Now 2 times 3.14, that's going to become 6.28. Multiply that times 21.2, and now we're going to have to come over and do some scratch work on the side. So I have 6.28 times 21.2. 8 times 2 times 8 is 16. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. And then 2 times 6, that's going to be 12. 1 times 8 is 8. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 6 is 6. And then we get another 6, 5, 2, 1. When you multiply that 2 times everything, add it up, that's going to be a 6, a 13, carry the 1, an 11, carry the 1, that's 8, that's another 13, carry the 1, a 3 and a 1, bounce our decimal, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, so rounded to the nearest hundredths place, we're looking at 133.14, because this 6 right here tells you that you have to round that 3 up to the 4. Jump back to our document, where you can see that they have it round. They did not round it there, but to round it to the nearest, they didn't give the instructions, but let's see what they do here. I say 133.14. Did they want that? Yes, they did. Rounded to the nearest hundredths place. Easy math. Now it's going to be your turn. Pause the video and solve this problem to find out what the circumference is going to be when they give you a radius of 7.5. Go. Alright, I've gone ahead and started my foundation of the problem, writing my formula. Circumference is equal to 2 times pi times radius. And from here, I'm going to take and start plugging in what I know. I know the pi is going to be 3.14, and I know my radius is right here. It's going to be 7.5. 2 times 3.14. I could do that, but you know what would be easier to do is 2 times 7.5. So I'm going to say 2 times 7.5 is going to be 15. And now I have to multiply 15 times 3.14, and that's going to make my math just a little bit easier. So I'm going to do my 3.14 times 15. 5 times 4, of course, is going to be 20. 5 times 1 is going to be 5, plus 2 is going to be 7. 5 times 3 is going to be 15. And then we have 1 times 4, 1 times 1, and 1 times 3, giving us a 7, an 11, carry the 1, another 7, and a 4. We're going to go bounce, 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 bounce. So rounded to the nearest hundredths place, it's going to be 47.10, but we never leave that 0 on, so your final answer is going to be 47.1. Check it, and it checks. Now we could also take and use this formula to find a missing diameter or a missing radius if they give us a circumference. Now the textbook is going to start off by showing us an approach to just change the formula around for each of them. So the diameter formula is what we're looking at right now, which was circumference is equal to pi times diameter. And if they wanted us to find the diameter, all we would have to do is isolate for the d by dividing pi on both sides like you see right here, and that would end up giving you circumference divided by pi is going to equal to your diameter. Also known as diameter is equal to circumference divided by pi. You can flip it. It doesn't, I mean, no reason to, but you can do that. Meanwhile, over here on the radius, if you wanted to find the radius and they gave the circumference, on this one you'd have to divide by both 2 and pi on both sides, and that would give you circumference divided by 2 pi is equal to the radius, also known as, yep, the radius is equal to circumference divided by 2 pi. Now, if it was me doing it, I'd start off on the original equation. I'm curious how they're going to do it, if they're going to expect you to know these formulas going in, or if they're going to give you the original equation, plug it in, and isolate the variable. Let's find out. So the problem they've given us says that one of the world's largest water fountains is in Singapore. It is the Singapore Fountain of Wealth and consists of a circular bronze ring that has a circumference of 66 meters. Find the approximate diameter of the fountain's bronze ring using 3.14 for pi and round our answer to the nearest hundredth. From here, we're going to take and see what they did. They did indeed use that new formula that they came up with. It said diameter is equal to circumference divided by pi. That is the very first thing that they wrote in. Then they plugged in what they knew. They knew the diameter was going to be 66. They knew pi is 3.14. And when they divided that, they got 22.02 for the diameter. So you could take and plug in right here if you wanted to, 21.02, and hit the check, and it's going to check. Easy math. Anybody can do this stuff, including you. It's super easy because they gave you a formula specifically for finding the diameter. Now it's going to be time for you to do extra example 3, but I'm not going to make you do it on your own because, quite frankly, this one's going to be pretty brutal. They've given us a round kitchen table that has a circumference of 141 3/10 inches, and they want to know what the approximate diameter is going to be rounded to the nearest hundredth. So let me take a screenshot of that and get it set up, and we will get back together in a second. Alright, I've got it set up on my scratch page, and we can see here we've got it set up to where we use the formula they provided us. It says diameter is equal to circumference divided by pi. So the diameter is equal to, the circumference is 141 3/10 divided by pi, which is going to be 3.14. Well, that's not real fair at all to work with looking like that, but let's try something different. Let's change that 3/10 into a decimal. That means now I'm going to have 100, need to put my whole formula there. Diameter is equal to 141 3/10, written as a decimal, divided by 3.14. Diameter therefore is going to equal to, and I think I may just let y'all use your calculators on these because I don't want you to burn up all your time trying to do hard decimal division. 141 divided by 3.14 is going to give us exactly 45. So the diameter of that table in inches is going to be 45 inches. I'm going to jump back over here, or over to here, type in my 45 inches, check it, and it checks. Easy math. Now the next set of problems are going to be very similar, only this time they're giving us the circumference, but they want us to find the radius. That means we have to use that other new formula they gave us, the formula that says radius is equal to the circumference divided by 2 pi. From here, they plugged in what they knew. 70.82 is going to be your circumference. Pi is 3.14. 2 times 3.14 is going to be 6.28. And from there, 70 6.82 divided by the 6.28 gave them their final answer of 11.28, which you could put here if you really want to, but it's not really much point because I gave you the answer right there. That one's not very hard at all after everything else we've done. Let's see what extra example 4 is going to look like. Is it going to be doable or is it going to be brutal? And this one is totally doable. You go ahead and pause the video and work this one on your own. Find the radius and round it to the nearest hundredth if necessary. Alright, I set up my equation, my formulas. Radius is equal to the circumference divided by 2 pi. Now I'm going to take and plug in what I know, which means I'm going to have radius is equal to, the circumference was going to be 25, and then down here I have 2 times 3.14. Now I do have choices here. I could simplify before I multiplied, and if 25 was a even number, I would go ahead and divide it out by 2 and simplify that one. But it's not. And I'm allowing you to use a calculator, so we might as well just work it out now. 25 is divided by 2 times 3.14 is going to be 6.28. Go ahead and bring up that calculator, which is right here. 25 divided by 6.28. Let's get it off of our problem, and that's going to give us an answer rounded to the nearest hundredths of 3 and 9800. So the radius is going to be approximately 3 and 98 hundredths, and that is going to be yards. Jump back over here. 3.98. Check the answer, and it checks. That's going to be it for your lesson today. Go ahead, pause the video, get busy working on your homework, and I'll answer any questions you have in class tomorrow.